Students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Krishnendu Ray, teaching in the Department of Ancient Indian History and Culture, University of Calcutta. Today we are concerned with Indian culture, particularly the paper is Social and Cultural History of India up to 1707. Particularly we are concerned with an understanding of early Indian social history, a particular aspect, that is Purusarthas and Caturasramas of early Indian social life. So naturally our objectives is such as early Indian society, aims of life, meaning of Purusarthas, historical context of Purusarthas, concept of Caturasramas in early Indian social life, and Varna and Ashrama. These are the objectives that we are going to understand from this module. First of all, what is Purusartha? It means the goals of life. Now, Purusarthas, this concept arose out of an historical context. Let us see, therefore, the historical context. Archaeological excavations at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and many other sites, they have provided historical contexts, particularly human activities, their bearing on human activities, past human activities, textual sources like Vedas, experience of the past human activities of early India. Particularly they produced food, made tools, and many other things necessary for their lives. The early Indians also utilized in this way geographical spaces and transformed them into places of their choice where they used to live in. This is how we come to the historical context. We see that they made many things. It means they had desire, they had wish, that is kama. This is how we are entering Purusarthas, kama first. Then we see they achieved many things on the basis of which they lived their lives. That is, those things that sustain them in society. So this is how we come to dharma. Then we come to artha, that is what they earned as wealth out of these achievements which sustained them in society. This is artha. Next we find the early Indians achieved their visible artifacts. They had successfully surpassed the limits of their different states of affairs. Particularly when they were food gatherers, they became food producers. So food gatherers, as that, they faced certain complexities, they faced certain limits which they surpassed, and this is how they became food producers. And this actually is the liberation, that is moksha. This is how we face even today many complexities in our day-to-day life, which we try to overcome, and this is how we pursue moksha. Thus we find dharma, artha, moksha and kama. These are the four aims which constitute Purusarthas. Number second is the ashrama system. What is it actually? The word ashrama means shram, from which the word has come. Shram means to become weary or to exert oneself. So ashrama means religious exertion. It was not only a residence for, but also a mode of life. Actually, it was a mode of life and a Brahmanical idea. Actually, ashrama system was essentially a Brahmanical idea associated with life and obligations of a Brahmanical family or householder. How as we saw, Purusartha came out of historical context, so also the ashrama system also came out of a background which we should see now. What is the background? First of all, when we come to the Vedic society or Vedic age, when we find the society composed of a number of non-Vedic people or other peoples with their rituals and beliefs, etc. Many new peoples, and as they expanded gradually, geographically, so they also had come into contact with many new peoples with their new rituals and beliefs. So this is how socioeconomic changes 6th century BC to 4th century BC in the Upper Gangetic region we find. The monarchical powers, at the same time we find a number of monarchical powers emerged with political networks and military also, and they expanded their authority territorially. Large kingdoms, Janapadas, Mahajanapadas, Kashi, Koshala, etc., etc. So cities emerged in this way. Trade established, urbanization occurred. This is how political, social, economic changes occurred. And these together created an environment in which this astronomic system actually is to be situated. Naturally, we should look into the origin of astronomy. What we get? References to the astronomy system are available from Gautama Dharma Sutra, Vasishtha Dharma Sutra, Apastama Dharma Sutra. This is the textual sources from which we can get information regarding the astronomy system. Astronomers are those of student, householder, hermit, and renouncer. These are the four asamas. Asamas constitute a permanent mode of life. They are not related to adolescence or old age or retirement. Not necessarily. But one enters the asrama. It is legitimate and alternate mode of life. A person can freely choose an asrama after the completion of his Vedic studentship. Or in other words, one if completes his Vedic study, then he can enter an asrama. This is the situation. Naturally, we find how one chose an ashram. Therefore, we come to choosing an ashram. Choosing an ashram depends on the following. The person who has completed Vedic study or one or two or all the Vedas, that is 4 Vedas, 3 Vedas or 2 Vedas, can choose an asrama, not violated the Brahmacharya's. That is, during his studentship, he did not violate any rules imposed upon him by the guru or teacher. Apastama Dharma Sutra points out that the completion of an initiatory studentship is requirement for all ashramas. That is, that I have told you just now. Whenever or whoever enters an ashrama, one has to complete the Vedic study, that is initiatory studentship, without which one cannot enter an ashrama. Next, the right to Vedic study lay with the twice born only, not the Shudras, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Brahmanas. Remember, Shudras were excluded. The ashramas were addressed to the members, upper Varna members of these social groups. Remember, Shudras were excluded from the list. What was the order of the ashramas? Let us see this. Ashramas placed in this order. First of all, Brahmacharya, Garhastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. Apastama Dharma Sutra places the householder in the first. That is, Garhastha ashrama to be situated first. Then the studentship in the second share. Remember, here we get textual differences. One text places some ashrama in the first, another ashrama in the next. This has to be taken note of because we have to understand its contextual, social context. According to the Dharma Sutras, the renouncer, that is Garhastha, was assigned the third position and the hermit in the last position. Any young man might choose an ashrama after the completion of his Vedic studentship. Once an ashram was chosen, it could not be changed. Who were or was the creator of the ashramas? Let us see this first. The ashramas were invented due to socioeconomic and particularly urban conditions. I have told you, we have seen social, economic and political changes upper Gangetic Valley, which were responsible for the creation of this system of life. It is not likely that the Brahmanas who lived in the urban areas were influenced by these situations. These changes might have influenced the Brahmanas who created this system in order to discipline life. Thus, they authored the institution of the ashrama system in the society of the day. The ashramas were created out of an urban mentality. The institution was a voluntary one. The historically Upper Gangetic region or early Indian society witnessed certain social, economic, political changes, particularly urban changes due to human activities and human achievements also. We have seen it. This might have influenced the Brahmanas, rather elite class people, who, in other words, on their part, created this system in order to discipline the lives of the people, so that people, in other words, their main purpose was to help the people lead a disciplined life. So this might have been the purpose, essential purpose of creating such a social system. Let us see the purpose. The Varna-Jati system invented in order to include the diversities of social groups, because as we have told you, due to these certain changes, there arose many peoples with their rituals and beliefs, with their activities. So there were many groups. So these had to be covered up with these Varna system as well as Jati. So social complexities, social groups of so many types had to be concealed, had to be covered up with this. Ashramas were permanent and lifelong. It was a system. Once you enter an ashrama, it is lasting, it is meant for whole life. So it cannot be changed. One has to move from one ashram to another in order to lead a disciplined life. So this is how it was lifelong. Family responsibilities are permanent. When one enters a household life, permanent, and the people with families were not allowed to abandon their responsibilities, because it was also a social responsibility. One cannot ignore it. So once you enter Garastha Ashrama, you cannot change, you cannot avoid it, you cannot violate its demands or responsibilities, you cannot avoid it. So even there were debates as to when a person might renounce the world, that is, comes out of the family, renounce the family life. When? At the age of 12 or 20, or when? After the completion of the family responsibilities, or before the completion of the family responsibilities. When? Therefore, the system might have been invented in order to cater to the purpose of safeguarding the family life. Actually, family life is the main pillar on the basis of which society depends. So one cannot avoid it. So this has to be safeguarded against. And that is probably why this system was created. Now, the period of the ashramas. If it is accepted that the socio-economic and urban conditions might have led to the creation of the ashrama system, then it might have come into existence not before the 6th century BC, because we have just now seen these socio-economic and political changes occurred during the 6th century BC. So, if the ashrama system was the creation of these changes, so it might have come either with the 6th century BC or after the 6th century BC, but not before the 6th century BC, because any social institution is created on the basis of the situations, real life situations. The system was known in the 4th century BCE according to the Dharmashastra tradition. Naturally, ashramas in the subsequent years, what changes we see in the ashrama system due to these social changes. Let us see this now. In the subsequent years, the ashramas, except renunciation, were of temporary period. The new ashrama system began with one's Vedic study. It was the first ashrama, Brahmacharya, as you have already known, which is the first ashrama, mostly accepted Brahmacharya, studentship. The first ashrama ended with a ritual, Samavartana, after which the student came from Guru's home or Guru's house to his parents' home. When he entered the family life, that is Garhastha ashrama. One second ashrama, that is the household family life, Garhastha ashrama, began when he contributed to the welfare of the society, particularly in general, and the family life in particular. He entered the third ashrama, that is one of a hermit in the forest, Vanaprastha, when he prepared himself by practicing penance and meditation. Then the fourth ashrama, that is sannyasa, renunciation. Everything he left. Charak Samhita is a text. Charak Samhita refers to the divisions of human life as youth, adulthood, old age. 3. Kamasutra of Vatsyayana, another text, also mentions the threefold division of human life. How many years one had to pass in one ashrama? Let us see. We have seen 4 ashramas. We have also seen people entered ashrama. But how many days, how many years one had to stay in one ashrama? This is a problem. With this, we come to the next. The Manava Dharma Shastra prescribes the first quarter of life, that is 12 years or 15 years for the first ashrama, and so on. Accordingly, other ashramas to be passed. But the number of years is not clear. According to Patrick Olivelle, another noted scholar, one was asked to spend 12 years in the first ashrama, 25 years in the Garhastha ashrama, that is the more important ashrama in one's life, particularly social point of view, and Vanaprastha ashramas respectively. The ashramas, Caturasramas is talked about in the Manava Dharma Shastra, Jagyavalkya Smriti, Vishnu Dharma Sutra, Vaikhanasa Smartha Sutra, and the Mahabharata. Now, one thing we have up to this, we have seen that males were preferred. What about the women? They were also in the society. Were they accepted in the ashramic system? So naturally, what relation do we get between the ashramas and the gender? Let us see that. One's group affiliation along three lines such as Varna and caste, gender and age. Next, Swadharma defined one's own activities by which one lives according to age, after the creation of the ashramas. Once ashrama assigned according to his caste, sex, and above all the social context in which he was born. Remember, Brahmana to be assigned any ashrama, but Kshatriya not to be assigned any ashrama. But if one wants to enter an ashrama, one has to complete studentship, first of all. When the ashrama system became a part and parcel of the Brahminical tradition, women were kept away from the Vedic society, Vedic study. They were considered at par with the Shudras, dogs and cows. Their minds are uncontrollable. Guarded by their fathers in their childhood days, husbands in their youth days, sons in their old ages. They could not perform ritual activities independently as they were not fit for these. In the context of the ashramas, males were given the superior status in society. So actually what we find, women were excluded from the count. They were not at all counted as human beings. Males were counted. Whatever activities or achievements we find, those were the successes of males, not women. So they were not fit for at all society. So they were excluded. So ashrama system was exclusively meant for the males. So this is how relation between the ashrama and gender, what we get, we find references to women, but at the same time we have to take note of another major development. This was the view, situation, but side by side we also find certain females very good achievement. They achieved very good, many things achieved. What we get regarding them? We find references to women ascetics, Jainism, Buddhism, women monastic orders, the Kautilya Arthashastra also on female ascetics in the society. They played their role as secret agents. Brahmana female ascetics mentioned in the Kautilya Arthashastra. Mahabharata refers to female ascetics in the society of the day. Female asceticism was acknowledged by the Brahminical theological tradition of the day. Remember one thing, we have seen generally women were excluded, but there were certain women who achieved a lot and they were counted or they were placed in the ashrama system. What we get regarding between ashrama and varna system. First of all, the relation between the ashrama and varna is talked about in Vaikhanasa Dharma Sutra. The duties of each varna has been stated in the text. 4 ashramas meant for the Brahmana, as I have told you. The Kshatriya may be assigned the first 3 ashramas, 2 ashramas assigned to the Vaishya, and Shudra excluded from the list. Shudra was not assigned any ashrama. This was the situation. Now we get Puranic evidence. Vamana Purana. What we get? According to this Purana, the Brahmanas assigned the 4 ashramas, the Brahmacharya, Garhastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. Vanaprastha were meant for the Kshatriyas. The 2 ashramas, Garhastha and Vanaprastha, were meant for the Vaishyas. Only the Garhastha ashrama assigned to the Shudra, because creation is necessary for the society, well-being of the society. 2 important points to be noted here. First, the Vaishya not allowed to enter the Brahmacharya system, ashrama. Secondly, the marital status of the Shudras acknowledged as a social institution with only the Garhastha ashrama. This is the first development, social development, so far as the ashramic system was concerned in regard to the varnas, particularly Shudras. Now we find the varnas or ashramas were guarded by the king because he is the apex political authority. What we get? The king protected Varnas, ashramas of the subjects of his kingdom. Gautama Dharma Shastra refers to it. Manu Samhita also says that the king provided protection to the Varnas and ashramas, established the Varnas and ashramas in their respective dharma according to Vishnu Dharma Sutra. The Kautilya Arthashastra also asks the king to keep his people stick to the duties and functions of their Varnas and ashramas. Every early Indian epigraphic records also support this. Remember one thing in this connection. Each one was assigned some duties and functions, and the apex political authority, that is the king, was asked to maintain these in order to avoid the chaotic situations or hazardous situations within the kingdom. If everyone maintained his duties and functions, then stability was ensured. That is probably why we find the king to have protected or guarded the ashrama system, Varnas, etc., etc., in order only to avoid chaotic social situations within the kingdom. What we get, the relation between the ashramas and the Purusarthas. In this connection, we find any correlation between the ashramas and the Purusarthas. These ashramas and Purusarthas are theologically interrelated. Generally, we find dharma relevant to Brahmacharya, Garhastha and Vanaprastha ashramas. If the fourth Purusartha, that is moksha, is the only goal of the fourth stage, that is Purusartha, moksha, then the Brahmana student is not allowed to access the two Purusarthas of Kama and Artha, because he was to be attentive to Dharma. If Dharma is assigned, these two are denied. The Vanaprastha ashrama is the antechamber of the fourth, that is the Sannyasa ashrama. If the principal goal of the third stage is, that is Vanaprastha ashrama, is moksha, that is liberation, then at this stage only one is denied the access to Kama and Artha. The second stage, Garhastha ashrama, is concerned with learning how the three Purusarthas, that is Dharma, Artha, Kama, are to be combined and balanced according to Charles Malamount. Arvind Sharma, that is A. Sharma, is in favor of establishing correlation between the ashramas and the Purusarthas. According to him, Dharma is purely the Brahmacharya ashrama. The second and third Purusartha, that is Artha and Kama, are pursued at the Garhastha ashrama. This is regulated by Purusartha Dharma. In the third stage, Vanaprastha, Dharma is primarily pursued. In the fourth stage, Sannyasa, moksha is pursued. Such correlation is easy to understand. Establishing the interrelation between the ashramas, Purusarthas, is subject to controversy. As such, we may establish relation, but it is very difficult. Summary, what we get. The people of early India developed civilization and culture. They faced complexities. Naturally, they followed the two social institutions, Caturasramas and Purusarthas. There have been attempts to associate ashramas with Varnas in the early Indian society over the years. The king has been enjoined in our sources to maintain the early Indian social order institution of Varnashram Dharma. This is how Varnashram Dharma was maintained, ashrama system, Purusarthas, thus social institutions were created only to lead a disciplined social life. Everyone could lead a peaceful, disciplined life. These were the main objectives, these were the main purpose for which such social systems, social institutions were created. Thank you all.